Christy was my brother.
Yeah. Say again.
My name is Eamon Brown, and Christy was my brother.
My name is Eamon Brown, and Christy was my brother.
Tell me your earliest, just your earliest memory of growing up.
What age?
Any age.
Well, I used to take dictation from him, you know, when he was writing my left foot, I was down all the days. I used to be the scribe there, you know. When I come in from school, I'd be in a four and go out to the study and give Christy a hand.
And so I'll ask you that question. I'm going to just focus on you primarily first,
Yeah.
and then I'll go into your relationship with Christy.
Yeah.
So we'll do your experiences first. Okay, so make sure that's doing what I wanted to do. Okay, so where did you grow up?
In Kimmage on Bangor Road, in Kimmage.
And what was describe for me what was life like in Dublin in the 1930s?
Well, you're a bit back. I was born in 1938.
1930. Well, what was life like when you were born? What was?
It was hard days, you know. I was too young to walk, but my elder brothers were all bricklayers except Christy, you know. So things were bad. There was no dole then. My mother used to work at City Hall, you know, cleaning woman, and she'd bring back the few messages and the few bob she would got. That's when we were all growing up.
And describe what Kimmage would have looked like back then. What was Kimmage like?
Well, it's hard to say, but everyone, that time there was no work and food wasn't plentiful, and everyone in Kimmage was, well, where we came from, everyone was in the one boat, you know.
And when you're saying the one boat, like, where had people come from who were living in Kimmage?
Well, we're originally from inner city, North Strand and Lost the Diamond and all around there, and people next door, they came from some other parts of Dublin, like the country, and a particular block. It had families, you know, and one family there was 9 of them, there was 22 of us, and down the road there was 7, so they were all sent out to Kimmage. Some of them we call it North Crumlin, but we know it as Kimmage, and they were tough times.
And tell me, and back then, did most people come from big families?
Yeah, well, the particular road we live on, we have a family called the Prices. I don't know if you know Murray Price, he was manager of the Ireland team, soccer. And then us was 13, 22 and 13 survived. Then there was Brunel, there were 9 over there. There was Haggerty, there was 8. You know, they were all fairly big families on that particular road, you know.
And what was the community like back then?
Well, there wasn't much community or centres or nothing. We just played as kids, knocking at the door and running away, and, you know, hide and seek in the gardens or the bushes or up trees. You know, it was a game we used to play when we were 8, 9, 10, you know.
And what other types of games did you play?
Well, in school we were playing hurling, you know, Crum and CBS, and I didn't like hurling, you know. So we used to play soccer. Where we lived in Stanway Road, it's real wide, as you probably know, and we used to about 20 a side, you know, the ball going into the garden, and one woman lived next door to us. She used to cut the balls and throw them back because they were going into our garden. You know, that's how that was our pastime, a piece of banter, rather.
And tell me, what do you think was the best thing about growing up in Kimmage?
It's hard to know. It's just the school, church, holidays. Well, holidays was non-existent. You just went on your school holidays for 8 weeks and that was it. There was no going out to Sea Point or Sandymount or anything like that. So it was rough in their own household was rough. Pardon us being born, then Christy being handicapped. It was a strain on my mother, but she didn't take a fit out of her. She just got on in life. That's how we were.
And let's see. You're kind of answering these really well. Describe your house for me. What would the house have looked like? What type of house? How many bedrooms was there?
Two bedrooms, an open kitchen and a sitting room. The old corporation houses. There used to be, to put all the family, we had a bed. Jeez, I don't know the size of it. There used to be 7 of us sleeping in the one bed. Then my elder brothers, we were in the corner with another. There's Jim, Tony, Paddy, Peter, Christy. We used to carry Christy up at night till we built a study for him, you know. My mother got it going, because that times you couldn't go outside the corporation, the extensions or new windows. You weren't allowed to do anything like that. But she went behind her back and went ahead. My father built an extension, a room and a toilet for Christy, give him a bit of independence, you know. That's what it was then.
And how did everyone feel about it? Your mother started building that, didn't she?
She went into fella in City Hall. She worked in City Hall cleaning, and she was explaining, you know, and they couldn't believe that there were so many of us, plus Christy being handicapped. So she started it, and my father was a real, you know, you can't break the law. They throw you out of the house and all this. She says, go ahead. So my father built it with my elder brothers. That was for Christy. That's when we were growing up, and then I used to take dictation from him in the study when it was built.
And what type of books did you dictate to him? What type of things or he was writing and you were transcribing what he was saying?
Well, basically there was letters to people around, you know, people that befriended him, you know, with his handicap, particularly the clinic in Sandymount. And to thank them and that, he'd get me to dictate what he was saying. I'd write it down, send it off then, you know.
Very good. And tell me a little bit about your parents. Tell me about your parents, what their names were, where they were from.
Well, they were originally from North, my mother was from Church Street, on North Side originally. And my father was from Dorset Street. Then they moved to Kimmage and took off from there then, the families.
What year did they move to Kimmage in?
Oh God, they'd be in the 30s, I'd say.
So they weren't living there long when Chrissy was born? They'd only just moved in?
Well, there was Lizzie, Jim, Tony, Paddy, Peter, Christy, Sean, Francie, Danny, and myself. So the lads were coming to a stage where they were mutton, you know, going out with women and looking for it to start. They got engaged and they got searching for houses, or particularly flats along the quays, the old Georgian buildings. My sister, eldest sister and her husband, Joe Dial, they moved in there, and then my other brother, Jim, and I can't think of her name, May, they moved into the flats in the quays till they got a house. That's how it started then, you know.
Yeah. So make sure this is all relevant. Okay, so so you're younger than Christy.
Yeah.
So you came into the family later. He was 6 years old, I think.
Yeah, there was different age groups in the family. We were started from the lower end, you know, the youngest, I should say.
And when did you start becoming aware of Christy's disability? At what age do you think you became aware?
I think I was 9 or 10. I knew there was something wrong with him, you know. and we used to take a hand, push him into it. Henry used to call it the old rocking, our chairs for the handicap. He used to call it Henry. And then the study was finished, and my mother and father and that put a bed in, got him a little radio, and we obviously had a piano. He used to play the piano with his left foot, you know. So that was a palace to him, even though we were still 3 or 4 in the bed, you know.
And